What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about this upcoming week as far as economic data points and some other factors that might cause a little bit more volatility within Lucid. Just want to go over some of those with you. And when it comes to it, I also want to talk on two other points. One of which is something that is going to be most likely coming out in the next week that Lucid will be able to use as a good talking point for their upcoming earnings. And the second point is the tour and why I think it's not necessarily the best idea for Lucid to do it. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So starting off with this upcoming week, as far as economic data points, there isn't really anything coming out that will cause a little bit more volatility within Lucid and the broader market. There's a couple Fed speakers throughout the week, but I don't anticipate anything substantial coming from that in reality. Rather, a lot of people are just going to be focusing on earnings. So this week is a little bit more of a roller coaster, a potential roller coaster, because the first or beginning part of the week is banks, and banks is a kind of a touchy subject still. So in general, people are going to be watching that very closely. As far as Tuesday, there's also Netflix as well. And then on Wednesday is big old Tesla. So of course, like I've said in the past, whatever happens to Tesla, good, bad, and the ugly, does one way or another trickle down to Lucid. So for instance, if Elon gives a lot of good optimistic talking points for the future, that's going to very much positively benefit Lucid. Vice versa, if Tesla talks on, for instance, kind of demand issues per se, that also is a touchy subject with Lucid, then Lucid unfortunately is going to drop pretty severely because of that. Because at this stage in the game, a lot of people are still trying to digest a lot of their actual Q1 delivery and numbers that they announced. So as of right here, they did actually deliver 1,406 vehicles versus produced 2,314. And like I've already done a video, I'm actually kind of happy with this production because based on Q1, they kind of already had low expectations for these numbers. So the fact that they did 2,300 and it's low to them, I think in general it does insinuate that they are going to far exceed the 2023 expectation of 14,000. But what people are very concerned about is the delivery numbers, and if it is either just vehicles waiting for international delivery or is it going to be demand issues. So in general, I think a lot of people are going to be very much listening to Tesla, and if they cite anything demand issue or even probably use the word demand, then that is going to cause a lot more fear within Lucid. And of course, when there is fear, there is going to be shorts. So going into next week, there is currently 143 million shares being shorted, and that works out to be around 22.29% of the free float. So in general, this week is going to be very much as kind of looking at their earnings per se. But outside of that though, as far as the technicals, it is breaking down a little bit. So currently lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, and on Friday it did go down 6.3%, like I said, because of the whole digesting of the Q1 numbers. It did have a low of 745, and coincidentally, that is that S1, so 736. And like I've already done a video, it needed to bounce off of that very much so. So going into next week, those are some points that you also need to watch for. So S1 736 is the next big support range. So depending on some outcomes of the earnings, that's something to watch for. Vice versa, $8.13. So for instance, if the banks are very positive, as is for instance even Tesla's earnings, then it most likely will be able to easily break past this $8.13. But of course, keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. Like I said, fundamentally, Lucid does have a lot of good momentum, and based on even the last earnings, I think it is fair to assume that a lot of people had very low expectation for the Q1. For those of you that actually did listen to, for instance, the conference call. But again, I could be wrong. But like I said, what they also recently announced was their upcoming earnings, and that is on May the 8th, 2023, after market close. So when it comes down to Lucid, Lucid typically likes to do this exact same thing on the last, I think, of the last 6 earnings, 4 of them, they've always announced a big thing at least 2 weeks before. And as of right now, the next big thing that they are going to be unveiling is the Gravity. So like I've been bringing up over the last, I'd say last 2 weeks, give or take, because I've been anticipating this to come out very much soon. But ever since they announced their earnings, I kind of pieced it together that they most likely in the next week are going to be announcing the Gravity. Most likely, if I was to give a prediction, what they are going to be doing is announcing an event after their earnings. That way, Lucid will be able to talk on it for their upcoming earnings, which again is on May the 8th. So they'll be able to really hype up investors about the Gravity and that event, the unveiling, which most likely as well at that unveiling, they could also open up the reservations at the same time. So I think it might be a little bit more of a double positive. And the reason for that is because if you do read through for instance, the Q4 earnings, they also have very low expectation for the Q1 as far as actual numbers and as far as the margins as well. So regarding the earnings per share revenue, that is going to be significantly lower than most likely even the analyst expectations. So of course that might cause a little bit more of a disruption, but that is to worry about on May the 8th. So this is why I do feel that they will be unveiling the Gravity after the earnings. That way Lucid will be able to use that as kind of a scapegoat and a potential catalyst to deter people to not really focus so much on the actual numbers. But of course, that actually is kind of smart to do. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But when it comes down to it, Lucid recently announced this. So it does say stopping in 40 plus cities across the country. The 2023 Dream Ahead Tour kicks off today in Florida. And so in general, I think this is actually a pretty good thing. So don't get me wrong, I don't think it's all bad. This is definitely a good way to showcase Lucid's performance and so forth. But given the circumstances, the high interest rates right now, I don't feel that the typical American right now, given maybe middle class status, can afford a Lucid. Even the lower price Lucid, the Pure, nobody can really afford that. My own opinion, of course, I think it's just wrong timing within the economy right now. But if you look back, Lucid actually tried to do this in, I believe it was Q2, Q3, with all of these pop-up studios potentially, which based on the numbers that did come out, didn't really help by any means. So when it comes down to it, I even posted, as you can see my comment, how much is that going to cost right here? Because I think that's one of the biggest things. If you announce that you're laying off 18% of your workforce, but then you turn around and spend, I don't even know how much all of this is going to cost. Pretty significant money that might result in very little reservations or any potential revenue coming towards Lucid. I don't think it is necessarily justifiable. My own opinion, of course. Like I said, I could be very much wrong about that. So when it comes down to it, I think in theory, this is good. But given the circumstances right now, I don't think it is very much advantageous for Lucid to do this tour, in my opinion. Especially, like I said, if you do refer back to the Q4 earnings, they do signal to a lot of kind of potential issues, either in Q2, Q3, as they do unveil the next phase of the AMP unveiling. So they do kind of signal a little bit more potential lower earnings per share in that regard, a lot more higher costs. And so when it comes down to it, I once again don't see it as a good image, that the fact that they laid off 18% of their staff, but then they go around and do a tour. But again, on this channel, I like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes I am very much wrong about this, and hopefully I am wrong about this whole tour, and it does result in massive amount of demand. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. Are any of you playing any other company as far as their upcoming earnings for this week? Because like I said, I think this is going to be a very volatile ride for this week. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing I just wanted to share with you. There is a good promo with Moomoo, link in the description below and also the comments. Just sign up for a free account and you get one free stock. And plus, Moomoo does offer $0 commission and free level 2 trading. So in reality, it's a complete no-brainer. And plus, as you can see, if you do deposit $100, you do get additional 4 free stocks, and each stock is valued up to $2,000. So like I said, a complete no-brainer. So take advantage while you can. This promo only is for April only. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.